Scott will be discussing the Kirtland's Warbler Research and Training Program, which coincidentally also got me started in conservation. I'm proud to welcome Scott Johnson, one of my fellow children of the Kirtland's Warbler Research and Training Program. Scott, take it away.
Okay, so thank you so much, Lino. Thank you everybody for having me. So again, the presentation is titled The Kirtland's Warbler Research and Training Project, Past and Present. So just some basics about the Kirtland's warbler. It's a small migratory songbird that breeds in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ontario. It is a habitat specialist, and it breeds only in jack pine forests. And to make things even more interesting, they are very selective of the jack pine forest that they breed in. It has to be between 1.4 meters and 5 meters in height. The bird then spends the winter in the Bahamas, and almost exclusively the Bahamas. So this is a good example. The Kirtlands is a good example of a true success story. The species was once endangered, and the reason for that was basically twofold. It was habitat loss and parasitism by the brown-headed cowbird. The population at one time ago dropped so low that it was about 167 pairs in 1974. And because of conservation work by government agencies in the US and other places, as well as volunteers and a bunch of other persons, the numbers have steadily been going up. So currently, the population stands at over 2,300 pairs, or over 4,600 birds. So this is a true success story. And as of 2019, the species has been delisted. So there was a lot of research work that went into the conservation of the Kirtlands on its breeding grounds, but we didn't know a whole lot about the species on its wintering grounds. And this is kind of important to know because the wintering grounds is where a lot of the migratory birds spend most of their lives. The warblers, for example, like the Kirtlands, spend as much as 7, 8 months on its wintering grounds. So whatever happens to it on the wintering grounds can affect its population on the breeding grounds. And so early research was saying that the Kirtlands preferred the pinelands of the northern Bahamas, such as Grand Bahama, Abaco, New Providence, and Andros. But we realized that that's not quite the case. So a plan was created to help us to help understand or help learn about this bird. And this is where the Kirtland's Warbler Research and Training Project came in. And it was basically designed to help in two major ways. One, to help us learn about the Kirtlands on its wintering grounds, the biology of the Kirtlands on its wintering grounds, but also it was used to help to train Bahamians to become not just conservation environmental stewards, but help with the conservation effort in the country. So this is a project that is unique in its own way, in that it helped to train Bahamians to become conservationists. And the search began for the Kirtlands, officially began in 2002. And it originally started on the island of Andros, but it moved to Eleuthera when birders from the Bahamas National Trust birding group, they found some birds on Eleuthera. And so we moved to Eleuthera since then. So this is the Lucayan Archipelago, also known as the Bahama Archipelago. It's an archipelago of over 3,000 islands, keys, and rocks. The most northern island is Grand Bahama. The most southern island is Inagua. And Kirtlands have been found throughout the entire archipelago, but we learned that they're concentrated in the central Bahamas, namely on 4 major islands. And they include Eleuthera, Cat Island, San Salvador, and Long Island. So studying the warbler, it was challenging at first because we had to first find the birds. And so this is Lino in his younger years, skinnier years. He was out, he was the first student of the Kirtlands project, or one of the first students of the Kirtlands project. And he was out and about through Eleuthera looking, walking along trails and on roads and stuff like that, looking for the bird. We were using playback, which is the voice recording of the bird. And once we spotted a bird, or once the bird was spotted, mist nets were set up to try and catch the bird. And if the bird was caught, then it would be banded and morphometrics was collected from it. Morphometric data was collected from it. So the Bahamians, we participated in every aspect of this this bird work. We did things such as taking birds out of mist nets, learning how to catch birds using mist nets. We learned how to collect morphometric information. We did collected blood samples from it, and it was generally a very, very intensive program, and it taught us a whole lot about what it is that needs to be done in order to properly census a species and how to collect information from birds. We also did a lot of other activities such as measuring the resource availability for these birds. What are these birds eating while on the grounds, while in the Bahamas on the wintering grounds? And so we set up quadrats on the ground to look for insects that may have been hanging out in the leaf litter. We also collected samples, stem cuttings, to count the insects and arthropods that may have been on the leaves and on the branches and the stems. And we also quantified the vegetation structure and measured the height of the environment of the vegetation and the forest that the Kirtlands was found in. We also did a lot of fruit work. The fruit work was used to help us learn about the fruit availability of these that these birds are using. And this involved a lot of counting of fruit, as well as other things to help us learn what the birds were eating and how long will shrubs stay in fruit for during the dry season. We also did a lot of community outreach work, and this community outreach work was used to help us bridge gaps between the work of science and the local knowledge of the residents, and it also helped to build a relationship between what we were doing and the community. And so we would go into schools, we would go and talk, we'd have presentations in businesses, talk with residents around the island, and just teach them about this amazing bird, as well as the amazing type of wildlife that we have here and the environment that the Kirtlands lives in. And this was very, very popular and attracted lots of students. A lot of children were interested in the work, and as well as a lot of residents were interested in the work that we were doing. And so these were our findings. Kirtland's warblers prefer disturbed habitat that is less than 30 years old. They really are attracted to livestock farmland. They are site-fidelic, meaning that they come to the same places year after year. And their favorite fruit includes black torch, snowberries, and wild sage. So yes, this species is very big on fruit, and these were the major fruits that they were very attracted to. They were especially attracted to this one. This is the wild sage. Most of our fruit foraging observations were on Kirtlands that were eating this fruit. This is the wild sage. Small little purpley pink berries that birds absolutely love. But they also enjoyed the black torch and the snowberry as well, as I mentioned. And so even though the Kirtlands Warbler Research and Training Project is officially over, we are still doing extra work to help get a better understanding of the behavior of the birds on the wintering grounds. And so we'll be conducting surveys in ungulate pastures, such as goat farms again, in both managed and unmanaged goat farm habitats. We will be comparing the density of the newly established goat farms, because they are newly established and they are already established goat farms. So we'll be comparing that density in those environments as well as studying the birds in unmanaged plots. And the results will allow us to compare the Kirtland's warbler monitoring that was previously done in the past. And that work will also help us with management of the Kirtland's Warbler project. Like I mentioned, I'm part of the Bahamas National Trust, and we are a quasi-government agency that manages the National Park System of the Bahamas, currently managing 32 national parks across the archipelago. And some of the islands, such as San Salvador, has 5 national parks, which we hope that with the information we get can be used to help with some management of Kirtland's warbler habitat in those environments. We're also going to be continuing bird tourism and, continuing outreach work with our calendar contest, which we use to help stimulate kids to learn more about the environment, as well as they get to compete with students in Michigan for the best pictures of Kirtland's warblers in their wintering habitat, as well as hoping to train some bird guides so that they can assist in the conservation effort of Kirtlands on Eleuthera. And this is just a quick example, a quick video of a Kirtlands on its wintering grounds. Okay, and so to conclude, I just like to say that the students of the Kirtlands project, there were 8 students who participated, and some are still in the conservation field. We have one who recently finished his PhD, and that's Lino. We have one who's still working on his PhD right now. We have some who are working in the Ministry of Environment in the Bahamas, and myself who's working at the Bahamas National Trust. So we've been continuing wildlife education, conservation management, as well as sustainability, as well as wildlife protection. With that, that concludes my presentation. I just want to say thank you all for listening and participating.
Thank you so much, Scott. It was great to hear what you all were doing on the Kirtlands project since I've left, and it's amazing to see those pictures of back in the day. For me, it was a real transformative experience. Can you maybe share with us some of the real big changes that came because you got involved in the Kirtlands project?
You mean in terms of my life and how that has changed my life?
Yes, definitely.
Since I joined the Kirtlands project, I was happy with the fact that there was an organization, there was a project that was aimed at training young Bahamians to come into the conservation field. That's something that as far as I know, that was never really done with any other type of researchers who came to the country previously. And that helped to bolster our knowledge of not just of the environment, but also helped to make us more aware of the fact that we need more Bahamians in the field of conservation. We have a lot of islands, there's a lot of work that needs to get done, and it's thanks to persons like Dave Ewert and Joe Wonderly and Dave Curry and others. They helped us to get that knowledge so that we can be that voice for wildlife in our country, especially our bird life.
Excellent. Thank